Steven Tyler. Rock legend or tragic figure? Steven Tyler, the electrifying frontman of Aerosmith, stands as one of rock music's most iconic figures. His piercing voice, boundless energy, and flamboyant stage presence have cemented his place in history. Aerosmith, under his leadership, produced anthems that defined generations, from the soulful Dream On to the gritty Walk This Way. Yet behind the spotlight lies a story of turmoil, drug addiction, personal scandals, and a relentless battle with his demons. Was Steven Tyler a rock god who conquered the world, or a man consumed by the chaos he created? This exploration delves into his life, from his music-soaked childhood to his triumphant highs and devastating lows, uncovering the truths that shaped him and the controversies that continue to spark debate. A musical childhood in a changing era. Born Stephen Victor Tallarico on March 26, 1948, in Yonkers, New York, Tyler grew up in a home where music was the heartbeat. His father, Victor Tallarico, was a classically trained pianist and music teacher, filling the house with the delicate strains of Chopin and Mozart. Victor's disciplined approach to music contrasted with the rebellious spirit of the 1960s, a decade that would profoundly shape his son. Stephen's mother, Susan, a secretary with a passion for art, nurtured a creative environment, encouraging her son's early experiments with sound. The family's modest apartment was a sanctuary of culture, with a piano that became Stephen's playground. From a young age, Stephen showed an uncanny musical talent. He banged on pots and pans before graduating to drums and piano lessons, guided by his father's meticulous hand. His voice, even as a child, was striking, raw, powerful, and emotive. Neighbors would pause outside the Tallarico home, captivated by the boy belting out melodies. But Stephen was no prodigy in the traditional sense. School bored him, and the rigid structure of Roosevelt High School in Yonkers felt like a cage. He was a dreamer, more interested in the pulse of rock and roll than algebra or history lessons. The 1960s were a cultural earthquake, and Stephen felt the tremors. The Beatles' invasion of America, the Rolling Stones' swagger, and the raw energy of James Brown ignited his imagination. He'd sneak into his room with a transistor radio, tuning into stations that played the latest hits. Mick Jagger's slinky charisma and Brown's frenetic dance moves became his blueprint for performance. "I wanted to scream like them, move like them," he later recalled in interviews. Music wasn't just a hobby, it was an escape from the mundane and a path to something larger. Yet the era's freedom came with shadows. The counterculture embraced experimentation, not just in music, but in substances. By 15, Stephen was dabbling in marijuana and alcohol, drawn to the euphoria and rebellion they promised. These early encounters were less about addiction and more about fitting into the vibrant, chaotic world he craved. He'd skip classes to hang out with older kids, sneaking into Greenwich Village clubs where folk and rock collided. His parents, though supportive of his musical gifts, grew alarmed at his defiance. Victor, a man of discipline, clashed with his son's wild streak, while Susan tried to mediate, hoping music would keep him grounded. Rebellion and expulsion are troubled. Youth, Stephen's teenage years were a whirlwind of talent and trouble. At Roosevelt High, he was a paradox, a gifted musician who disrupted classes with his antics. Teachers noted his charisma, but despaired at his inability to focus. He'd drum on desks, sing in hallways, and charm his way out of detentions. But charm couldn't erase the consequences of his growing drug use. Marijuana gave way to harder substances, and by 16, Stephen was experimenting with pills, lured by the promise of heightened creativity and confidence. The tipping point came in his junior year. Caught with marijuana on school grounds, he was expelled, a blow that humiliated his parents. Victor, who'd dreamed of his son following a respectable path, was furious. Susan, ever the optimist, enrolled Stephen in Quaker boarding school, a private institution meant to reform wayward teens. But the strict rules and rural setting only fueled his restlessness. Within a year, he was asked to leave, unable to conform to the school's expectations. "I wasn't made for sitting still," he later said. "I needed to move, to sing, to live." Back in Yonkers, Stephen doubled down on music. He joined local bands playing covers of Stones and Beatles songs in dive bars and at house parties. His first serious group, The Strangers, gave him a taste of the stage. At 17, he was already a local sensation, with long hair, tight pants, and a voice that could shatter glass. He changed his last name to Tyler, believing it had a sharper, more marketable ring. The name wasn't just a rebrand, it was a declaration of his ambition to become a rock star. New York's music scene in the late 1960s was a melting pot of innovation and excess. Stephen soaked it all in, sneaking into clubs like Max's Kansas City, where he rubbed shoulders with aspiring musicians and eccentric characters. He'd lie about his age to buy drinks, smoke joints in back alleys, and absorb the raw energy of live performances. Stories from this period are hazy, but one tale stands out. A teenage Stephen, high on amphetamines, was briefly detained by police for loitering outside a club. The incident ended with a warning, but it underscored his reckless streak. His parents, now resigned to his path, urged him to channel his energy into music rather than self-destruction. Stephen agreed, but the temptations of the rock lifestyle were already taking root. Aerosmith's genesis, from dive bars to stardom. In 1969, a chance meeting changed everything. At a small gig in Sunapee, New Hampshire, Stephen crossed paths with Joe Perry, a lanky guitarist with a knack for blistering riffs. The two bonded over their love for gritty blues and high-octane rock. Perry's cool intensity complemented Tyler's manic charisma, and they recruited drummer Joey Kramer, bassist Tom Hamilton, and guitarist Ray Tabano, later replaced by Brad Whitford, to form Aerosmith. The name, inspired by Kramer's love for Harry Nilsson's album Aerial Ballet, captured their soaring ambitions. The early days were grueling. Aerosmith played to half-empty bars, hauling gear in a beat-up van, and scraping by on meager earnings. They lived in a cramped Boston apartment, surviving on cheap beer and dreams. Stephen, the band's de facto leader, poured his heart into songwriting, crafting lyrics that blended raw emotion with vivid imagery. Rehearsals were intense, with Tyler pushing the band to match his vision. "We didn't want to be good," he said. "We wanted to be undeniable." Their persistence paid off. In 1972, Aerosmith signed with Columbia Records, and their self-titled debut dropped in 1973. The album was raw, unpolished, but brimming with potential. Dream On, a haunting ballad, became its standout track. Written by Tyler at 17, the song channeled his yearning for greatness and the pain of his turbulent youth. Its soaring melody and heartfelt lyrics resonated with listeners, though it took years to become a chart-topping hit. Critics were lukewarm, but fans in Boston and beyond began to take notice. Aerosmith's breakthrough came with 1975's Toys in the Attic. The album was a masterclass in hard rock, blending bluesy grooves with infectious hooks. Sweet Emotion and Walk This Way showcased Tyler's vocal range and the band's chemistry. Tyler's lyrics, often laced with innuendo and humor, gave the songs a playful edge. His stage persona, scarves tied to the mic stand, slinky dance moves, and a banshee-like scream, became iconic. By 1976, rock solidified their status as rock titans. Tracks like Back in the Saddle and Last Child were raw, visceral, and unapologetic. Aerosmith wasn't just a band, they were a cultural force, filling arenas and inspiring a generation of rockers. The dark side of fame. Addiction takes hold. Fame brought wealth, adulation, and excess. For Tyler and Perry, dubbed the toxic twins, drugs became a way of life. Cocaine fueled late-night recording sessions, heroin dulled the pressures of stardom, and alcohol blurred the lines between performance and reality. Tyler believed drugs enhanced his creativity, giving him the edge to write hits, but the illusion quickly crumbled. By the late 1970s, he was spiraling. Concerts became unpredictable. Tyler would forget lyrics, stumble on stage, or collapse mid-show. In 1977, during a performance in Philadelphia, he fell off the stage, high on a cocktail of substances. Fans thought it was part of the act. It wasn't. He was rushed to a hospital, bruised but defiant. Offstage, his life was equally chaotic. In 1978, Tyler crashed his car into a tree after a night of heavy drug use, narrowly escaping death. Another time, under the influence, he leapt from a hotel balcony aiming for a pool but missed, breaking several bones. Shows were cancelled, and the band's reputation suffered. Tyler later estimated he spent over $6 million on drugs, joking, "I snorted half of Peru." The humor masked a grim reality. Addiction was destroying him. The band's internal dynamics frayed. Tyler and Perry, once inseparable, clashed over creative control and personal grudges. In 1979, Perry quit Aerosmith after a backstage argument, leaving Tyler devastated. The band soldiered on with replacement guitarist Jimmy Crespo, but the magic was gone. Albums like Night in the Ruts, 1979, and Rock in a Hard Place, 1982, underperformed, and critics wrote Aerosmith off as a relic of the 1970s. Tyler, drowning in heroin and despair, felt the weight of failure. "I was lost." Controversies and personal struggles. Tyler's personal life was as tumultuous as his career. His relationships were marked by passion and drama. He had multiple girlfriends and 2 marriages during this period, but infidelity and drug use strained every bond. Friends and associates fell to overdoses, leaving Tyler haunted by loss. The most controversial chapter came in the late 1970s with his relationship with Julia Holcomb, a 16-year-old fan. Tyler, then 26, became her legal guardian to take her on tour, promising a glamorous life. The relationship soured as Holcomb alleged Tyler introduced her to drugs and pressured her into an abortion after a pregnancy. In 2022, she filed a lawsuit accusing him of abuse and manipulation. The case stirred fierce debate, with some defending Tyler's rock star lifestyle and others condemning his actions as predatory. The scandal cast a long shadow over his legacy. Redemption and reinvention. By 1986, Tyler hit rock bottom. His family, fearing for his life, staged an intervention. "Get clean or you're done," they told him. Reluctantly, he entered rehab, a grueling process that forced him to confront his addiction. Sobriety was transformative. Aerosmith reunited with Perry, and their 1986 collaboration with Run DMC on a rap-infused Walk This Way was a game-changer. The song bridged rock and hip-hop, reviving Aerosmith's career. Albums like Permanent Vacation, 1987, and Pump, 1989, spawned hits like Dude, Looks Like a Lady, and Janie's Got a Gun, earning critical acclaim. The 1990s saw Aerosmith at their peak. Get a Grip, 1993, delivered mega hits like Cryin', Crazy, and Amazing, with music videos showcasing Tyler's ageless charisma. His daughter, Liv Tyler, emerged as a Hollywood star, adding to the family's fame. Tyler's sobriety, though not perfect, gave him clarity. He became a mentor to younger musicians and a vocal advocate for recovery. Setbacks and resilience. In 2006, Tyler faced a new crisis. A broken blood vessel in his vocal cords threatened his career. Surgery and rehab followed, but opioid painkillers triggered a relapse. By 2009, he was back in treatment, facing skepticism from bandmates. Rumors of Aerosmith replacing him surfaced, but Tyler fought back, declaring, "I am Aerosmith." The band reconciled, and their 2010 tour proved Tyler's voice was still a force. Speculation about plastic surgery also dogged him. Fans noticed fuller lips and a smoother face, sparking rumors of Botox and fillers. Tyler shrugged it off. If you don't like it, look away. His stint on American Idol, 2011 to 2012, showcased his charm, winning new fans with his wit and warmth. Legacy and impact. Tyler's philanthropy reflects his desire to give back. Janie's Fund, inspired by Aerosmith's song, supports abused girls, and he's funded rehab programs for women. Critics, citing his past, question his motives, but Tyler remains committed. "I know what it's like to be broken," he says. "I want to help." Now in his late 70s, Tyler lives vibrantly. He performs with Aerosmith, rides motorcycles, and splits time between homes in Los Angeles, Hawaii, and Nashville. His style, scarves, jewelry, bold colors, defies age. "I'm not old," he insists. "I'm eternal." Legend or tragedy? Steven Tyler's story is a tapestry of triumph and tragedy. His music, from Dream On to I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, is immortal. Yet his addiction, scandals, and personal failures reveal a man wrestling with his flaws. He's neither a saint nor a villain, but a complex figure who embodies rock's highs and lows. Tyler's life asks us to grapple with hard questions. Can a flawed artist still be a legend? Does redemption outweigh past sins? For Tyler, the answer lies in the music, raw, real, and enduring.